This is a day unlike any I've ever had in Israel. 6 months ago today, there was an attack in Israel that started a horrible war that's still underway. And we've come down a road that skirts the Gaza Strip. We've just passed Sderot. We're on our way to Be'eri and Ra'im, and the site of a massacre at a music festival that was just unspeakable. But even on our way, we've come to this, we've stopped for fuel at this convenience station, and here is one of countless stories of what happened on that Shabbat morning. There were about 6 people who were here when the attack started. They saw the terrorists coming. They ran inside the convenience store, did their best to lock the doors. They ran in the restrooms, and they hid there for the rest of the day in the restrooms. And the terrorists were not able to get to them. But on that peaceful Shabbat morning, the attack came, and we're on our way down the road on this 6-month anniversary, not only to see what happened, but I pray to maybe have an understanding of what you and I need to do in response to this attack. On October 7th, 2023, thousands of terrorists from the Gaza Strip stormed over the border separating the Gaza Strip from Israel and set off on a day of killing that we have not only not forgotten, but we're still dealing with the ramifications of it. There's a war raging not very far from where I am. I'm standing on the grounds of the Ra'im Music Festival. We're between Ra'im and Be'eri. 1,200 people killed in a single day. 364 of them were killed here in this campground-like area. There was an all-night music festival that was going on here. Terrorists came into this campground and just began a day of murder and sexual atrocities that can hardly be comprehended, much less mentioned. They maimed, tortured, killed, and even kidnapped. In fact, more than 250 people kidnapped on that day. Some of those hostages have been released. But as I stand here today on the 6-month anniversary of that attack, almost 100 people are still held in captivity. We know of 34 who were held in captivity who have been killed in captivity, and their bodies are still in the Gaza Strip. What grief is in Israel right now, not just today on this 6-month anniversary, but every day. This country is different because of this attack. This country is at war because of that attack. So why am I here? We have said, many of you have said with me on many occasions, we stand with Israel. I stand with Israel. I'm for Israel. Well, sometimes, if you're going to stand with Israel, you need to stand on the ground of Israel. And I felt like I needed to come here. To say to people that we know and love, and to say to people we've never met, we're standing with you. We love you. We're praying for you. And I've been trying to deliver that message, and I've been trying to deliver it in part on your behalf. There's a public relations war going on around the world too about this particular war. There are many voices in America who would say that this whole thing is Israel's fault. I'm so proud that our president and his administration in the early days of this war were fully in support of Israel. I would hate to think what would have happened without that support. But today we're watching our president waver on that commitment. We're watching other key political leaders talk about arms embargo to Israel, to speak like Israel has done something wrong in an effort not only to defend itself from past attacks and to avenge itself of past attacks, but to protect itself from future attacks against an enemy that has sworn to continue attacking after this attack. We have to fight terrorism. I'm standing with Israel here, but you and I can stand with Israel in many different ways. You can tell your elected leaders that you stand with Israel, and you expect your elected leaders to protect our ally. I mean, it's ridiculous to support a war until it gets right to its closing stage. 2 things would end this war immediately. One would be the release of the hostages. If the hostages are released by Hamas, today, the war ends tomorrow. That's a very simple solution. That's all it would take. The other way the war ends is to allow Israel to complete its military objective. That would end the war, and they're almost there. War is not a game, it's not a sporting event, it's a horrible thing, and the images are terrible. The things I've seen on the way to this location have been very troubling. We can even hear the sounds of warfare from time to time. But the Bible says there is a time for war. There is a justification to protect your family, to protect your neighbors, to protect your community. And that's what Israel is doing right now. And I believe that's what you and I should do wherever we are in any way we can. Let your elected leaders know you stand with Israel. And if you hear a conversation, maybe at work or at school, in your community, even in your family circles, where people are speaking about this war as if there are two just causes, no. This is not a case. This is not a case of two sides having equal complaints against the other. This was terrorism. You see this bomb shelter right behind me? It's designed to protect people from the rockets. Thousands of rockets over a period of 15, 16, 17 years have come into this area, and so there are bomb shelters all around this community. And as people hid in this bomb shelter from the rockets that were coming on October 7th, terrorists came up to this bomb shelter and threw grenades inside. And people died, defenseless. You know, people who are somehow taking up what they call the Palestinian cause right now in America and in other parts of the world. I'm like, why don't you just march for school shooters? Why don't you just march for anyone who walks into a business, a place of worship, an office, or a place like this, a campground, and just shoots innocent people? We don't defend those kinds of things. We eliminate the people who try to do those things. That's the only way civilization works. And the Bible supports that just cause, a justification for war. A lot of great men and even women in the Bible had to go to war. This is our time. The Holocaust was not that long ago, and in the Holocaust, a lot of Christians did not speak up. They did nothing at all. In fact, on some Sundays, when people heard the trains carrying their Jewish neighbors to their deaths, they sang their songs in their churches very loudly, trying to drown out the sound of the trains. They tried to ignore the horror that was happening all around them. We have said, never again. We have used slogans like that, never again. If it were on my watch, I would have spoken up. You know what? This is your watch. This is my watch. And never again is right now. Do what you can. Stand with Israel. Stand for what is right. And let's make sure tragedies, massacres like this, indeed, never happen again. Not in Israel, not in America, best we can, not anywhere in the world.